public service, BSN account,
efficiency,
accountability, this week accountability, surrounding accountability, service, public service,
Accountability refers to the answerability or responsibility of an individual or an organization for their actions, decisions, and performance, which also involves being aware of and accepting the consequences, whether they may be positive or negative, that may arise from one's actions or inactions. Accountability is a critical part of ethical behavior, ensuring that individuals and organizations act in a responsible manner. Accountability can be present in various scenarios, such as workplace or personal life and more. For an example, in the workplace, employees are held accountable for their activities or tasks and outcomes, while leaders and managers, on the other hand, are accountable for the team's performance.
Accountability is a state of being responsible for your actions and being able to give an explanation for them. It is about taking ownership of your choices and being willing to be held accountable for the consequences. A simple example of accountability is when a student is responsible for completing a homework or assignment on time. If the student does not complete the assignment on time, they are accountable to their teacher for explaining why. The teacher may then assign consequences for the student's lack of accountability. In this example, the student is responsible for their own learning and is accountable to their teacher for their progress.
Accountability is the attitude and practice of willing individuals to take responsibility for themselves and to communicate with others about their choices and behaviors so they can show their integrity and grow in maturity.
Accountability is a fundamental principle that underpins the functioning of any society or organization. It refers to the obligation of individuals or entities to take responsibility for their actions, decisions, and their consequences. Accountability ensures transparency, trust, and integrity in governance, business, and personal relationships. It holds individuals accountable for their commitment and helps maintain order and fairness in society. Without accountability, chaos would prevail, as there would be no consequence for unethical behavior to fulfill our obligations.
Accountability or responsibility is the promise that a person or organization will be judged on how they perform or behave in relation to the duty they have taken. Although the phrase refers to the duty, it is seen mainly from the standpoint of oversee. For an instance, a worker might be in charge of making sure that our response to our request for proposals complies with the standard. Depending on how poorly a task is performed, there may or may not be consequences. However, when there is accountability or responsibility, the worker is held accountability for effectively performing the assignments or providing justification of their failure to do so. So, that is accountability.
Public officers and employees must, at all times, be accountable to the people, serve them with utmost responsibility, integrity, loyalty, and efficiency, act with patriotism and justice, and lead modest lives.
Accountability is crucial in trust, in like integrity and efficiency in any kinds of system, but by holding people or individuals responsible for their actions. Accountability ensures transparency and promotes a culture of honesty and reliability. When people are accountable, they are more likely to go ethical standards, leading to a healthier and more sustainable environment. Accountability encourages better decision making as it is a thorough consideration of governance, business, and personal relationships. Accountability is the cornerstone of progress and development. It is not only helps in identifying by correcting mistakes, but also builds a sense of responsibility and ownership, adapting a culture of continuous improvement and growth. Without accountability, chaos and mistrust can occur, hindering progress and the establishment of a just and equitable society.
Accountability is crucial because it ensures that public figures, including heroes, celebrities, and politicians, are held responsible for their actions and decisions. Without accountability, there is a risk that their shortcomings and mistakes will be ignored, creating a sense of impunity and affecting trust in leadership. This is especially relevant in the case of politicians, as these can have a huge impact on how a society is governed and how well it is maintained.
Accountability is crucial in both personal and professional life as it ensures that we stay committed to our goals, learn from our mistakes, and build trust with others. Being accountable to someone fulfills our commitments, stay motivated during challenges, reflects on our mistakes, on our actions rather, and ultimately be seen as reliable and trustworthy. Accountability strengthens our relationships and supports our success in various aspects of our lives.
Accountability helps you cut down on time and effort you spend on useless activities and other bad habits. People are effectively taught to value their work when you hold them responsible for their actions. Accountability can boost the abilities and self-assurance of your team members when done properly. It is crucial because it enhances performance and fosters trust. You need to hold other people accountable for their actions in addition to holding yourself personally accountable. Accountability is one of the most important components of a healthy and happy life because it fosters healthier relationships, honor, compassion, truthfulness, dedication, and sincerity. People are most likely to be held accountable when they are aware of the value of their work. They gain this knowledge through dedication and criticism that highlight how their actions affect the company. They are inspired to work and feel a sense of ownership when they understand how important their roles are.
Well, imagine a government that lacks accountability. For instance, unofficial misuse of public funds can lead to financial crisis. That's why accountability is crucial for us because it ensures individual and organization responsible for their actions and decisions. Thank you.
Holding yourself accountable will reduce conflict because you are owning your mistake. You are acknowledging that you are at fault and you are to be blamed, or you are owning something up. You're not denying anything because you're holding yourself accountable. The second factor that I'm going to mention is being accountable will have an impact of your self-development because you can witness your strengths and your weaknesses. You can distinguish and know more about what you should do next time. It will enhance your skills, your developmental skills. And the last factor that I'm going to mention is that being accountable can also improve your decision-making skills because you have to outweigh things. You'll be thinking thoroughly. Like you're gonna outweigh which one is better and suitable for that certain circumstances or a certain event, may it be for yourself or for everyone.
When we do fail to keep our public servants accountable, we allow them to abuse us. This leads to corruption, bribery, nepotism, and embezzlement of our tax. If a public servant doesn't know the consequences of their mistakes and aren't held accountable, they grow lazy, knowing nothing will happen to them and continue on making fools out of our taxes. Take the pork barrel scandal of 2013, for example. The government was stolen around 10 billion pesos of funding, yet Bong Revilla, a member of the Congress at that time, stole around 1 billion pesos and had a gal to run for Senate in 2019. The saddest thing is, he won. When we fail to keep our public servants accountable, they'll keep on treating us poorly and wring us dry of our hard-earned money.
In the Philippines, failure to hold public servants accountable has led to significant repercussions, including concern about the erosion of democratic norms and institutions. The controversial anti-drug campaign under President Rodrigo Duterte has faced scrutiny with allegations of extrajudicial killings and human rights abuse. The lack of accountability in addressing this issue has raised international criticism and drawn attention to the importance of holding human rights and rule of law in the country.
Failure to hold public servants accountable may result in corruption, which will waste the funds of taxpayers. In our barangay, for instance, the captain is not held responsible for his action, although he has gained wealth and is able to build a home and purchase a car. His wants are fulfilled using funds from our barangay, not our barangay necessities. Therefore, we are entitled to select the right leader for us.
When public servants are not held accountable, it can lead to corruption, abuse of power, and erosion of public trust. One significant example is the scandal involving the Watergate break in the 1970s, which led to the resignation of President Richard Nixon. More recently, the Me Too movement exposed numerous cases of sexual misconduct and harassment within political institutions, highlighting the importance of holding public figures accountable for their actions. Such failures to enforce accountability can result into long-term damage to democratic institutions and societal well-being.
For a modern economy to run smoothly and to promote social well-being, transparency and accountability are essential. Many powers are granted to governmental officials in the majority of societies. The delegators or the general public must then be given some assurance that this transfer of power is not only efficient but also not exploited. Transparency makes ensuring that data is available that can be utilized to assess how well the authorities are performing and to prevent any potential power abuse. In this way, accountability, the ability to hold authority accountable for their actions, is achieved through transparency. Trust between a government and those it governs will be inadequate in the absence of transparency and accountability. Social unrest and an unfavorable atmosphere for economic expansion would be the outcome.
To answer the question regarding the consequences of failing to keep public servants accountable, it is helpful to delve into the Denvaksha controversy that occurred during the presidency of late Benigno Aquino III. In 2016, the Philippine government, under President Aquino's administration, initiated a large-scale public immunization program aimed at vaccinating school children with Denvaksha to combat dengue. However, the controversy surrounding Denvaksha arose due to potential safety concerns associated with the vaccine. As concerns mounted, investigations were launched and legal actions were taken against officials involved in the vaccination program, including former President Aquino, who faced allegations of reckless imprudence, resulting in homicide for his role in approving the vaccine program. This case provides a clear illustration of how accountability is intertwined with the consequences of public officials' actions. Specifically, accountability of public officials. Accountability in this context implies that the public officials, including former President Aquino and other government officials involved in the Denvaksha vaccination program, were held accountable for their roles in the decision-making process. Accountability means that individuals in position of authority are expected to answer for their actions, particularly when their decisions affect public health and safety. The second one will be transparency and disclosure. Accountability also involves transparency, which entails providing the public with accurate and comprehensive information about government actions and decisions. In the Dinvaksha case, critics contended that there was lack of transparency in the vaccine program implementation, including inadequate disclosure of potential safety risk. Accountability necessitates that public officials disclose relevant information to the public, enabling citizens to make informed decisions. The last one, and I think the major consequence of not keeping our public servants or public officials accountable for their actions is the consequence of public trust. The controversy had a substantial impact on public trust in the government, especially concerning public health programs. Public trust is really a vital aspect of accountability, reflecting the extent to which citizens believe that public officials are acting in their best interest. The erosion of trust resulting from the Denvaksha issue underscores the importance of accountability in maintaining and restoring public confidence. So, in summary, the Denvaksha controversy in the Philippines highlights the critical importance of accountability in the government decision making, the necessity of transparency in public health initiatives, and the potential consequences that public officials may face when their actions lead to adverse outcome for the public. This case serves, I believe, as an example of how accountability mechanisms are indispensable for ensuring public responsible governance and for addressing and rectifying issues that affect the welfare of citizens.
The best thing that we can do is we stay engaged. We need to vote in every election so that we would know who will be deserving to sit in the government. We need to go to town halls, write emails, and do phone calls to share our views. Doing that respectfully but persistently keeps the issue top of the mind, and we should also hold the all the officials the same high standard, not just a target one party only. It also helps the others to join in the community groups and nonprofits focused on accountability. More voices together gets more attention. We can support this by also doing investigative journalism that uncovers the wrongdoing too. And last but not the least is that we need to remember that we got the power, us people. Officials work for us. So by actively participating and making our voices heard, we can keep them focused on serving the public interest. It takes patience and resilience, but change is possible when the citizens demand it.
To maintain accountability among public servants, it's crucial to establish inspiring processes, independent oversight bodies, and whistleblower protection, along with clear codes of conduct and performance metrics. Public servants should be required to report their activities and financial interests, subject to public scrutiny. Civic engagement and media vigilance play a pivotal role in holding officials accountable. While technology can be harnessed to enhance transparency, the government should also continuously evaluate and adapt accountability mechanics to ensure effective governance and maintain the public's trust.
So, we all know that in the Philippines, holding a public servants accountable is very crucial for a good governance. So these are some ways that, in my opinion, and also based on my research, will um, that is a good strategy for this. So, first of all, we need to strengthen our anti-corruption institution. We all know also that the Philippines has institutions like the Commission on the Audit and the Ombudsman that is responsible for the oversight and accountability. These institutions should be reinforced with sufficient resources and independence to efficiently combat corruption because we all know that corruption is the number one issue in the Philippines nowadays. And then we also need the civil society and media. We all know that media and the society is the biggest platforms that we have in our life today. So civil society, international Philippines, and investigate journalism play essential roles in exposing corruption. So they are the one who will expose something that, example, we have the guy right here, or we do not speak his name, but we all know that we have some issues that is going around, that there is a corruption there and there, and then this should be supported and protected in their work. By combining these strategies with the commitment to combating corruption, the Philippines can make significant progress in keeping public servants accountable and promoting good governance. And that is my opinion in this question. Thank you.
Maintaining transparency and public confidence in government depends on holding public officials accountable. In order to investigate complaints and possible misbehavior, it is first possible to develop strong and independent monitoring mechanisms, such as ombudsmen or government watchdog bodies. And transparency programs like open data platforms can make public information, budgets, and spending more accessible to the public, enabling closer examination. Furthermore, encouraging public employees to disclose misconduct without worrying about retaliation can be accomplished by fostering an environment that values ethical conduct and whistleblower protection. Public employees' efficiency and adherence to rules can be evaluated through routine audits and performance reviews. The public may guarantee that the government stays accountable to the people it serves by participating in town hall meetings, public forums, and polls. The best method to make sure public servants are responsive to the interests and wants of their citizens is to keep elected officials accountable through free and fair elections. When these tactics are used together, a system of checks and balances can be created that aids in upholding accountability in public service.
One of the simplest ways to solve the mystery of accountability for public administrators is to trace it back to its origins and examine how it manifests itself at various levels to influence governmental decision making. We consider the need for public accountability arises because of the need for a trusted relationship between the public sector and the public.
There are some ways to keep public servants accountable. For example, political accountability. Here, public officials are directly accountable for responsibilities or policymaking ranging from education to national defense or environmental protection. At the same time, they also possess a variety of authorities over rulemaking delegated from legislators. These responsibilities dictate that public administrators should account for their actions in the context of designing and implementing laws, rules, and regulations. For bureaucratic accountability, its system requires an organized and legitimate principal-agent relationship in which everyone should follow the rules without questioning them, and there should be a strong system for managing how well people do their jobs. In this approach, bureaucratic accountability is achieved by strategies, administrative rules, budget reviews, or performance management system. For professional accountability, here it is a way to instill discipline into government strategies. Professional accountability can be escalated when public administrators are more exposed to internationally recognized professional standards. So that's why holding public servant accountable is important for transparency, preventing corruptions, and ensuring government officials serve the public's best interests.
To ensure public servants' accountability, prioritize transparency and access to government actions and financial records, implement strict ethical guidelines and protect whistleblowers, utilize independent oversight bodies, performance metrics, citizen engagement, and regular evaluations, uphold elections and political accountability, with a free media backed by a strong legal framework, consistent enforcement, and regular agency audits. These measures collectively promote public servants serving the public's best interests and maintaining trust.
So, there was significant controversy surrounding these confidential funds, with claims that they were unconstitutional and could be susceptible to corrupt use. This recent issue surrounding Vice President Sara Duterte's handling of confidential funds has raised significant concerns about transparency, legality, and accountability within the government. Vice President Sara spoke about the confidential funds, and this is what she said. Tandaan ninyo, kung sino man ang kumukontra sa confidential funds ay kumukontra sa kapayapaan. Kung sino ang kumukontra sa kapayapaan ay kalaban ng bayan. It seems that the people are not opposing confidential funds. We just want transparency. The spending of 125 million in confidential funds in just 11 days seems very fast. We just want to remind everyone that these funds are provided by the people, us, like Filipino citizens. Yeah. So we just want to know where this money is being spent. We are not against it if it's being spent for the right reasons. The people wouldn't question confidential funds if they were promptly accounted for and the reasons for such large expenditures were clear. So, in the end, we deserve clarity and accountability in this matter. Only with openness and a commitment to adhering to legal procedures can this controversy be put to rest and we, Filipino people concerns, be addressed.
A confidential fund is a sizable sum of money given to a particular office to support its operations. It is a budget that is difficult to audit. Being suspicious, curious, and anxious about where this money are going is normal, especially when a crisis is at hand. The vice president never admitted where the money went and what she used for it. Yes, she must be held accountable for her questionable act. That money should be used for the development of the country. She should tell the senators and the people where that hundreds of millions went.
Imagine spending hundreds of millions in just 11 days. What a paradise it must be. Nothing was said against her. She was just asked where she spent the money, yet she cannot answer. Yes, she is accountable. She must be. How hard can it be to say where she spent the money of the people? What she did is very questionable. No one can answer where it went but her. She must be held accountable. It is a huge amount of money. It's not something you can find anywhere.
In my view, Vice President Sara's actions raise concerns about her accountability. Confidential funds are entrusted to public officials for the purpose of serving the greater good. It is imperative that those in position of power handle these funds with utmost transparency and responsibility. However, recent revelations suggest that Vice President Sara may have mishandled these funds for personal gain or undisclosed purposes. Accountability lies at the core of any democratic society. Public officials must be held responsible for their actions, especially when it involves financial matters. Unfortunately, Vice President Sara's response to this issue has been invasive and lacking in transparency. Her failure to provide a clear explanation raises doubts about her integrity and commitment to public service. It is crucial that Vice President Sara takes immediate steps towards accountability. This includes providing a detailed account of how the confidential funds were used and taking responsibility for any wrongdoing if proven guilty.
In a situation where a vice president, such as our Vice President Sara Duterte, is handling an exceptionally substantial amount of confidential funds and concerns arise due to the expenditure of hundreds of millions within just 11 days, it becomes absolutely imperative to establish and enforce stringent measures of transparency and accountability. Robust investigations and comprehensive oversight are essential to ensure that these funds are allocated for legitimate government purposes and to prevent any potential misuse or corruption. Upholding public trust and strictly adhering to financial regulations takes center stage to address any doubts or apprehensions surrounding the utilization of such substantial funds. This level of scrutiny is vital to maintain the integrity and credibility of the government's financial operations, safeguarding the interests and confidence of the citizens in the proper and responsible use of these significant financial resources. By doing so, the government can not only fulfill its fiscal obligations but also demonstrate its commitment to ethical and lawful financial management.
For me, Vice President Sarah is being accountable and not being accountable. Why is she being accountable? She is being accountable because the purpose of the confidential fund is to promote peace and order along with education. She wants people to go to their daily lives without being feared. She wants our children to receive an education in a safe environment. That is why for me she is being accountable with that. So why is not being accountable? Based on the interview I saw, based on the interview I read or the article I read, that she did not explain more further about the money, about the 125 million in one day. So so my thoughts about it is not she is not responsible for that money. She's not responsible for the usage of the money. That is why I complain that she's not being accountable.
I believe Sara Duterte is one of the influential public figures in our country. As we all aware, confidential funds, referred to as discretionary funds or intelligence funds, are monetary allocations typically controlled by high-ranking government official agencies or department. The use of confidential funds is generally not subject to public disclosure or scrutiny, making them a controversial aspect to government finance due to the potential of misuse or lack of transparency. However, people are so quick to judge on Vice President Sara Duterte and throwing allegations because she was not be able to provide proof of evidence on the said allegations. She did release a statement a week ago that she did not misuse the confidential funds, and I believe that statement.
The pursuit of accountability of the past regimes of President Marcos and President Duterte is an imperative facet of upholding the principles of justice and the rule of law. And it is incumbent upon the legal system to address misconduct, abuse of power, and any transgressions against the fundamental rights of citizens. In this context, however, one must candidly acknowledge that the measures taken thus far have not culminated in the unequivocal accountability to the gravity of the action warrants. While there have been instances of investigation, inquiries, and legal proceedings aimed at examining the conduct of both former President Marcos and Duterte, it is evident that the multitude of factors, including political considerations, resource limitations, legal complexities, and have contributed to a state of affairs where conclusive and assailable verdict on accountability remains elusive. The legal processes initiated thus far, while notable, have not succeeded in delivering the unequivocal determination of responsibility that would satisfy the demands of justice. Moreover, the passage of time and evolving sociopolitical landscape present additional challenges to the pursuit of accountability. of her actions undertaken during previous regimes. Statutes of limitations, fading memories, and shifting public sentiments can all contribute to a more complex and arduous legal terrain, further complicating efforts to secure a definitive verdict on accountability. In conclusion, while it is imperative to acknowledge the various endeavors made within legal framework to address the actions of former President Duterte and Marcos, it is with regret that one must affirm that a comprehensive and resounding demonstration of accountability for their respective region has, as of now, remained beyond reach. The pursuit of justice, however, remains ongoing endeavor, and it is incumbent upon society and the legal system to persist in their pursuit of accountability for the actions of leaders, regardless to the challenges that may be encountered along the way.
Former President Duterte has not been held legally accountable for his actions during his regime. Former President Marcos was held accountable for corruption but not human rights abuses. Duterte's administration has been accused of human rights violation, particularly in relation to the war on drugs. However, as of now, he has not been held legally accountable for these actions. On the other hand, Marcos was accused of numerous human rights abuses and corruptions during his regime after his ousting in 1986. He faced legal proceedings and was found guilty of corruption by the Philippine courts. However, he was never held accountable for the human rights abuses committed during his regime.
The accountability of former President Duterte and Marcos family for their actions during their respective regimes has been a contentious issue in Philippine politics. Ferdinand Marcos, the late dictator, his regime was marked by human rights abuses, martial law, and allegations of massive corruption. The People Power Revolution in 1986 led to his downfall, and he was exiled in 1993. The Swiss government returned to a substantial portion of the Marcos family ill-gotten wealth to the Philippines. Various legal cases have been filed against them, but a final resolution on accountability has been elusive, with some arguing that Marcos still wields significant influence in Philippine politics. As for Rodrigo Roa Duterte, he has faced international criticism for his controversial war on drugs, which has resulted in thousands of extrajudicial killings, while the International Criminal Court initiated a preliminary examination into these allegations as of 2022. He had not been formally charged. Duterte's accountability is often a divisive issue in Philippine politics, with supporters highlighting his strongman approach and critics calling for more thorough investigation.
Have former President Duterte and Marcos been held accountable for their own actions during their respective regions? Although there have been so many attempts to hold them accountable, but the legal proceedings are still ongoing. According to ICC, or also known as International Criminal Court, who conducted a preliminary examination and requested a formal investigation, determines that a crime against humanity, or also known as murder, has been committed during the Duterte's war on drugs era. According to United Nations, at least 8,600 citizens have been killed during this Duterte's regime. But however, without any persistent government data, the exact number is unknown. Although I understand Duterte's goal in eradicating drug menace will bring back peace and order to our society, but me as a Filipino myself thinks that uh, former President Duterte is responsible for the death of innocent people, including the death of a Korean businessman in Camp Crame on 2016, and also the death of at least 122 children during this President Duterte's bloody legacy. On the other hand, uh, former President Ferdinand Marcos was known for his dictatorship, and his regime was regime was marked by a widespread corruption, human rights abuses, and also oppression of political opposition. He was indeed he was although found liable of such violation by a Hawaii court and was ordered to pay $2 billion for the torture, extrajudicial killings, and disappearance of Filipinos. But, however, according to ICC, or also known as International Criminal Court, there is no evidence that Ferdinand Marcos, the former president of the Philippines, is accountable for his or responsible for his actions. So that's all, and thank you for watching. And this is Faber Bendanao.
Well, depends. Depends. It really depends. It really depends if they are being caught or there is evidence supporting that they are been doing those shady things. But since now we're a democracy, man, so you're not if you're an autocracy, then well, if you're a king and you ordered some like like a construction and a construction area collapse, no, killing majority of its workers, then well, yes, you will be held accountable. Even in war, there is actually a one during I was the Romanovs from the monarchy from Russia actually are actually held accountable 100% because they're autocrats, man. They're autocrats. So well, during the war, yeah, all of the deaths that is sustained during World War I in Russia, it's them. But since now the Philippines is not an autocracy, man, no, it's not held. They're not like held accountable if there is evidence that there was that they're doing it. But yeah, they can you even presidents fall under was that I think fall under like being in a court. But so yeah, so my answer is depends. Depends if there is claim, if there is like evidence.
Ferdinand Marcos presided in 1965 to 1986 over the government that was characterized by pervasive corruption, violation of human rights, the imposition of martial law, and many more were caused by Ferdinand Marcos. The Marcos family were held responsible for these deeds, and efforts were done to reclaim the stolen money amassed during his leadership after he was overthrown. Some assets were recovered as a result of these efforts, and there have been legal efforts and civil suits to hold the Marcos family accountable for these actions. However, a comprehensive solution to the problem remained a challenging and ongoing process. Now on to Rodrigo Duterte, who served as president from 2016 to 2022, was controversially known for his aggressive anti-drug campaign which faced significant criticism for his human rights abuse and extrajudicial killings. Human rights organizations, both domestically and abroad, conducted investigations when he was president as part of the efforts to hold him accountable. The results of these efforts to hold him accountable are ongoing, with investigations by human rights and intentional international organizations. Thank you.